Good to go.
Awesome. Well, today, the second day of our training, we're actually going to talk about today communication with your buyer, how it can help me, what you need to ask, how to get things out of them. Just that communication piece to be able to turn around and provide me information is really important. So what I wanted to talk about, and Chris and Will, you've been there too. We've kind of talked about this before, just off the cuff and um, as a side note. But I think it's really important that everybody understands what I need. And there's different ways to talk to your buyers. You guys aren't really allowed to ask certain questions, or you shouldn't. I mean, about, how much do you guys make? How many kids you have? There's certain things that really you can't ask them, whether it's legal wise or just come off weird. But there are ways that you can get information out of them without being either super creepy or crossing that line. So for instance, let's say you're meeting with a client and you're showing them a house. So whether you're taking them in your car or you're meeting them, so let's say you meet them in the driveway, you walk through the house and, normal conversation. They're looking at the house, you're answering questions. At the end, you may just stop and have a conversation with them, whether it's about what they're really looking for. This house didn't really meet their needs or it was super. But you want to kind of just as a friendly, hey, think of it as someone you just met at a party and you're not interviewing them, but you're just asking them questions to get to know them. Where do you guys work? And it's in the tone that you come across with, not so much the question. So if I go down a list and I'm interviewing someone and I'm, okay, where do you work? How much money do you make? How many kids do you have? What's your social? All that. It's very standard. It's very not off the cuff. It's I don't know what a good word for that is, but if you're asking them just jovial and you're really just trying to get to know them, but you're also pulling information. In other words, and I do it when I'm interviewing a client, and I'm like, okay, what's your name? Great. How about your social? And, where do you work? And then when they get done, oh, how long you been there? And I ask them, they'll tell me, I'm like, that's fantastic. Like, what do you do while you're there? What are you in charge of? Do you have a department? Really what you're trying to get out of these people is a feeling of who they are. Because when you call me, hey, I just met Mr. and Mrs. Robbins. They're going to be calling you. They are both engineers on base. They have 3 kids. They're really looking for a great house they've never owned before. And their mom's actually going to be giving them money. All of that information is important to my questioning. Because when I sit down with a client, a lot of times they are not exactly upfront. They don't tell me everything I need to know. They tell me what they think is important. And unless I really grill them or know how to drill down from questions, I don't get the answers I need. I need to know if they're going to have a gift. I need to know up front when I'm start asking them information about income, salary, what they do. That tells me right there what type of loan. It also should click in your mind, okay, both of these guys are engineers. They make pretty good money. They probably have money put away, and they're probably going to make too much money for any type of grant programs or anything like that. So one of the things that I ask, and this is something that may come up with your conversation as well, is, how much do you guys have put away for a house? Have you thought about it? How much do you want to allocate towards this transaction or this purchase? And that'll tell you right then, well, we've got about $50,000, or my mom's going to actually gift us 20%. She's always talked about helping us out. The more the friendlier you are, the more you become a I want to say a friend, but that person that they're going to open up to, the more you're going to find out. And if you're closed off, if you don't have these conversations with them, none of it's ever going to come out. And you may not find out what they really want in a house either. It works both ways, not just for me as lending, but for you guys with housing and what they want to buy and what you need to know. So that's one thing, is the income. The income is probably the most important, because that tells you, okay, well, we really can't, down here, you don't have such an issue, but it tells you where you can't look, if they're going to go USDA 100% financing. If they're going conventional and they're putting money down, that's great. We can go anywhere. A conventional loan, a lot of times you can write as is. You don't have to worry so much about appraisal or issues with the house. So it helps you when you're evaluating a house that you're going to actually put under contract and have an appraiser come through with me. So that's important information I need to know. Hey, we're thinking about going conventional. Okay, what's that house like? I'm going to pull it up while I'm talking to you on the phone and go through pictures. And okay, you guys walk through it. Well, what about these floors? What about this missing, flooring, or there's no refrigerator, no stove, things like that. They're all issues that we want to take care of up front. If we're going to move forward, we want to know what we're doing. So when I say you're interviewing a client, you're not interviewing them to see if it's a good fit. You're interviewing them so you can pass information on and do a better job with the entire transaction. Okay, does that kind of resonate or make sense?
Sure.
The most important part for me, and it's an easier transition from you to me when you have these conversations as well, because excuse me, they've already opened up. They're comfortable with you. So when you refer them to someone like me, especially if you do a text, or a lot of times I'll get calls from an agent with clients at a house and asking me questions. And at the end, they're like, okay, they're going to give you a call later today. So we've already had that conversation. We've already kind of broken bread, and that bridge has been created. They feel like they know me because I've been on the conversation and I was talking to them at the house. It's an easier transition from you to me. A lot of times they don't want to call me. You'll get people that you'll talk to and you'll say, okay, well, give my preferred lender a call. Here's his number. And see what you can do, get everything set, and we'll put an offer together. You'll pick up the phone or you'll text me, hey, this person's going to give you a call. Great. I'll let you know as soon as I talk to them. Day goes by, 2 days goes by. I text you, hey, I haven't heard anything. Do you want me to reach out? Another day goes by. They just don't, for some reason, there's a block there. Some people just don't want to do that. They don't want to reach out and talk. So that conversation up front is really important to kind of prime the pump for me, and getting them to call. That's the hardest part, is if you meet somebody, and this has happened to everybody. You meet somebody, everything's great. Yep, I want to write. Okay, well, we need to get you hooked up with a lender, get a letter, everything else. Awesome. Who do you recommend? And you go through your whole spiel, and then you text, and then they just don't call. They don't call. They don't call. So it's a lot of times why I suggest the group text, where you'll text and I text. And then I break them off onto another conversation. I'll pick up the phone, call them, get all their information, or talk to them about the process. It's that introduction, that kind of helps, instead of just saying, great, give this guy a call. That's just a name and a number on a paper. It's not and a text isn't much better, but for some reason, that group text, the people pick up on it and follow through more than just, here's a name and number, give this guy a call. And I'm always happy to call someone as well. The conversations I have, so I'll take you through a process I go through with a client. So let's say you give somebody my number, they call, I pick up the phone. I'm like, great. My name's, Darren Rickwood, First Home Mortgage. My job as a lender is to get you pre-qualified, look at numbers, credit, so that I can put you in the right range as far as sales price, the payment, cash out of pocket, and then I can put numbers together to represent all of this so you know exactly where you are. If it's a specific house, and this is where I go into, do you have a specific house already? Great, you do? Okay, let me pull that up. Okay, so then I start talking about cash to close, which tells me exactly what program I'm going to go with. Because if you remember that last week we talked about the 1003, one of the first things I have to determine or put in is a loan program. I put in their name, info, credit, but then I'm asking, well, what type of loan am I doing? Am I doing conventional? Am I doing FHA? Am I doing USDA? So my first question to them before I even go into their social and everything else is, do you guys have money put aside or allocated for a purchase? If they tell me no, we only have a couple $1,000s. Okay. I go into 100% financing. I talk about first-time home buyer programs. Like there's grants available for you guys. There's everything. I then go in and I ask them all their information. I ask for their social, their how many kids, their blood type, everything. I ask them everything they don't want to give me. When I fill out the application, one of the most important things we ask is, are you married? If there's no one else on the application, are you married? Do you have kids? We ask all those things. I ask them, one, if they have a financial advisor, which I found is very important because financial advisors with a lot of people now have the say in how much money they put down, where they get the money from, everything. So especially if they're older, been working for 15, 20 years, have had a house, that's a very important question because they all want that person involved and they all want the information to go through them. And that's something you guys can ask as well. I don't know if you've ever run across that, but when you're talking with people, that's one. Okay, well, I got to meet with my financial advisor and go over all this with them. I had one of those yesterday that he had set up an appointment. It was a Saturday. I went through everything with him and the agents asked me for a letter and he's like, okay, that's great information. I appreciate it. I have a meeting Monday with my financial advisor. I'll call you back as soon as I meet with them. So everything went through that person.
I see that a lot, Darren, but I have a financial advisor too, because my husband made me. But when you're working with a lender, I feel like that doubles as your financial advisor as you are reviewing their finances and you can coach them through that. So isn't it redundant? And should we kind of coach them as such or just let them be redundant?
It might be redundant on your side. On my side, it's not, because a lot of times the links and the numbers I create, and which we go into in a couple of these classes later, when I present numbers to my client, that link and information can be shared. It can be shared with their financial advisor. It can be shared with their spouse. It can be shared with parents, anything. So yes, I'm providing them the information. I had a call yesterday for a great example. I had a call yesterday with a client who referred to me, wants to buy investment properties. They own a home, only owe $30,000 on it, but now they want to start building a portfolio with real estate. She told me, everybody I talk to, no one knows or understands what I want to do. They can't give me any information. So I went through what I do. I explained what mortgage planning is, which, for a lot of people, they don't understand what that term means. She didn't have a financial advisor. My job as a mortgage planner is to look at the mortgage you have, look at what you want to do, present you options, and tell you kind of how can you best get to where you want to be. For instance, this person ended up doing, she wants to do a cash out refinance, take out like 180 grand and buy 2 investment properties. So we'll actually put numbers side by side, both houses, her current house, the new mortgage, and hopefully it cash flows enough to pay those mortgages and contribute to her current mortgage as well in the primary residence. So it's kind of a sidebar, but the point of this example is Some people have them, some people don't. Yes, my job is partly advising. I don't pretend to be someone's financial advisor of, well, you can't take money out of that account and put it towards this, or you need to invest it here.
I see
My
what you're
job,
saying. The
yeah,
financial advisor is much more big picture, and you're
it is.
focusing on a part of the process. And so you two would work together. I get that. That makes sense.
My job's one transaction,
Yeah.
and then monitoring it. Their job is a lifetime and getting
Yeah.
them to retirement to be comfortable. My client yesterday, the one over the weekend that had to talk to his financial advisor, he's got almost $1 million in his account, went to his financial advisor. He looked at doing a bridge loan, money out of the property before he sells it, or going non-contingent and taking it out of his investments. Financial advisor said, that's a terrible idea. You should not take money out of your investment. So
Because
why?
of the interest that it's accruing, or
I don't know. The guy's
You didn't agree with
2
that,
years
Darren?
old,
how
Sometimes
old
I
is
think
he?
there's penalties and stuff.
I think penalties, I think there's a lot of reasons. There's penalties. The cost that it's a higher cost to take that money out of the account than it is for me to do my job and do a bridge.
Right.
There's a lot of reasons, or just go in contingent. You have a house, you really don't need another one, kind of thing.
Got it. Yeah.
There could be all kinds of things, If you get it contingent, great. If you don't, oh well. They also make money off of what's invested.
Yeah.
They do caution against that. Evan and I had thought about keeping the home that we're in now as a rental property and then borrowing from, I don't know if it was our TSP or our 401k to put money down on a second property. And our advisor was just not into that idea whatsoever. So we didn't do it. But yeah, no, I know that there are a lot of penalties with that.
All of them are different. Some will tell you should take as much out and put in as much down and have a low payment.
Right.
Financial advisors I talk to, like Mike Scarborough, is
He's ours.
He's all for putting as little down as possible and investing your money and looking at the rate difference. In other words,
Right.
your rate on the house is 4%, but I'm earning you 6%. Why are you going to put the money over there? Let me keep it and make you more money.
Right. Yeah.
Which is great. Like, I do all my links, and if it's somebody Mike refers to me, I'll actually send the link to him and I'll copy Mike on it so he can look at it,
Yeah.
and figure out in a meeting, okay, what's the best way for you to go?
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Yep. So we talked about income, we talked about housing, properties, loan programs, things like that. But I think that the number one thing of the conversation and how to approach a client is, one, that transition piece that I talked about, getting that person to call and making them comfortable. And you don't want to be that cold or stone cold realtor that walks in and, here's my job, look at the house, great, you like it, fine, get me a letter. You have to be a lot more than that. You have to be that friend, the person that just is looking at a house with them to see how it is. Like, is it nice? Does it fit all the boxes? Experience wise, I mean, Chris was my realtor, and Will, you went on a couple of them too, or were around
Yeah.
It just was different. And it's because I knew Chris, and I had that relationship already. But it was very different when I scheduled an appointment and I go out and I walk a house and I saw it. It was more of, oh my God, I get to hang out with Chris. I'm gonna, spend a little time with her and I get to see a house. Great. It wasn't, okay, we're gonna go look at a house. Some other person's gonna be there to unlock the door. It was very different walking through the house. It was very different to conversations. Everything was easier. The point of that is you can do that with every single client if you know them or you don't. It may take you 1 or 2 showings, to get to that point. But developing and building that relationship helps the bridge from them and you to me. It makes it much easier because you can then go, look, I trust this guy. I would do a loan with him. Hopefully you would. He's the guy I call with all my questions. He does all our trainings. Give him a call. Because I believe it or not, I'm very easy. I can talk to someone and not press them. I'm not a salesman. If someone doesn't want to do an application or give me their information, I'm not going to force it. My job is to answer their questions. That's what I'm here for. At the end of the day, if we finish our conversation, I usually have a 10, 15-minute conversation with them and then go, okay, do you want to do an application? That's my question to them. Do you want to move forward, or, is that all you wanted is questions? I'm happy to do either one. I really am. There's some clients I've talked to for 6 months before I even do an application. I've even got some I've done numbers for just because of you guys. If you send me a client and they're one of your good clients and you go, hey, they're really good. They're going to buy. They're strong borrowers. I know them. I know where they work, their family. I'm not going to be so pressed about it, and I'm going to help them as best I can. And when the time is right, they're going to call, so that's something you can relay and pass on to your clients as well. Is, look, it's very easy. It's a simple conversation. We get bad reputations when, people hear banker or lender. There's a lot of bad things online. There's a lot of horror stories from years, past of people who had really bad experiences. And unfortunately, it gets passed along as the lender, not, Joe Blow or whoever it was. So we have to get over that. But that's my job when I talk to them. Hopefully that, comes across when I'm having a conversation with them. And, we get through that the first 10 or 15 minutes. Okay. I try to keep these to a half an hour. So is there any specific questions or anything like that you guys have? No?
I don't have one right now, but
Diane, thank you.
I think
I appreciate the reminder too about introductions. That's something that I religiously did my first couple of years in real estate, and I kind of fell off with it. And I don't know why, because it is a much more polite way to get the parties together. And I feel like it unifies it so much easier. So I need to start doing that again. I used to do it via email, but text is probably better.
The phone call from the house, I've got one agent that does that with almost every client, especially if they're like Navy Fed.
Oh, at the showing.
Yeah, she'll call them on a Saturday. She'll text me. She'll give me a heads up and text me, go, hey, are you near your phone? I'm going to call you. Yeah, I'm here. She'll call me on a Saturday, and then she hangs up and she tells me what she does. She goes back to him and says, look, that's my lender. Like, he'll pick up the phone anytime I call him. Here it is Saturday at 1. Like, he's going to call. He's going to answer. So it's just a way of making them understand and feel better about maybe calling me or talking to me.
And having that little bit of background with you too is probably helpful, so they feel more comfortable. I think so many people are just uncomfortable with discussing their finances, and it feels like such a mountain for them to climb. And it's helpful when they get to know the person more. That's a good idea too. I'll keep that in mind.
I'll tell you a little story real quick. Just yesterday, I got a referral. I swear to God, I don't know how I did this, but I got a referral from someone on TikTok. It was a agent in Chicago, picked up the phone and called me yesterday and said, hey, and he's huge. He's got like 350,000 followers, all this stuff. He's solid. He gets people from all over the country. And what he does, he hands them off, gets them pre-qualified, then hands them off to an agent, gets a referral, if he's not licensed. He calls me, girl's in Maryland. This is the one where the investment properties and the mortgage planning. And then he did a group text. He texted, all three of us together. I took it from there. She called me like 5 minutes later. It came up on my phone as Chop Tank Electric, which is the electric company over on the Eastern Shore. I used to have it. That's where I just knew it because living over there. She goes, hey, I just want to let you know the number I'm calling from, it looks weird, but that's where I work. And I said to her, just being funny, I'm like, I kind of figured it was. I haven't had a bill with Chop Tank Electric in years. And she goes, what? You know them? And it led into a 30-minute conversation about the Eastern Shore and my family and her family and do we know each other and all this other stuff. So it's little things that you can pick up on that may lead to a whole conversation. And we probably had a 45-minute phone conversation about what she wanted to do, but also the Eastern Shore. And at the end of the day, she was super comfortable with me. We're laughing, carrying on, and gave me all her information and just like, whatever you need. Yeah, let's do this. So it's little things you pick up on or hear. So it's always,
Yeah.
we talk about the conversation, this and that, but any type of sales, which is what we do, listening is the most important part, and actually hearing what they say.
Yeah, those connections are everything. I've heard, and I hear this all the time, and it's 100% the truth that this industry, real estate, lending, what have it, it's so much more about connections than it is about knowing all the information in the world. We should know all the information in the world. We need to be well versed, but if we don't make those connections, there's no point to any of it.
Right. Yep. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Well, it was great seeing you guys. Hopefully this helped a little bit. We can always try this like one day in the office, maybe, or, we can even do a happy hour one day and do a role play.
Oh, happy hour would be so
somebody's a
fun.
client.
Yeah, I like the role play.
Yeah, so
that would
we
be
could
fun.
do that.
Let's do that.
Okay, cool. All right, pass it along to the boss
Thank
lady.
you,
Will.
Darren. Have a
Okay.
good day.
You're welcome.
Thanks,
See you guys
Darren.
That
next
sounds
Friday.
good. Good to see y'all. Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.